We got Smart Hulk.
He was disturbingly attractive. Never really dug the Hulk. He's aging just fine, but you put the two together and it was like, oh, that's not normally my cup of tea, but hey, green tea.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave, and you are in the Endgame. My name is Adam, also known as drownedsnow on the podcast of Ice and Fire forums, and this will be a completely spoiler-filled review discussion for Avengers Endgame, so be warned if you haven't seen the movie, now is your chance to back out. Spoilers! Dark, yeah, the internet is dark and full of spoilers for everything, but this will especially be for Endgame. I don't think we'll cover any of the latest episodes of Game of Thrones, just to be safe on that. But we might cover other Ice and Fire stuff, because, it's us. And I am joined today by Amber.
Hello, this is Amber. Amberrocks on the forums.
Marvel superfan, along with me,
Yay.
Amber. And Michal.
Hi, inkasrain on the forums. I also like Marvel.
Who doesn't like Marvel?
Professional superfan.
Yeah, she's like, I professionally enjoy the MCU. And we'll be joined by some other people later, I believe. How many Thor beer bellies would you give this?
Wait, hang on. How many or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
It was just peanut butter.
Was it?
Which
just
is
peanut
so
butter.
weird. Which, by the way, shout out to Duncan, who eats peanut butter sandwiches, which I think is so weird.
Let's go with peanut butter sandwiches. I am kind of sad that she was in Avengers compound just eating peanut butter. There had to be a chef or somebody on staff. Anyway, I 5 out of 5.
I can't talk about Natasha's life right now. Oh god.
Yeah, I mean, I loved this movie top to bottom. I did not bring enough Kleenex. Like the very first scene.
What did I tell
Hawkeye.
you?
We're gonna get Hawkeye's family's gonna disappear. I'm like, well, whatever. I know it's coming. And then they disappear. And since my son was born, I just can't handle family shit like that. So I was just like, oh. And thankfully, I managed to pick a seat in the theater. It's assigned seating, and I managed to save a seat, so there was no one next to me. So I don't think I disturbed anyone too much, but it was a mostly packed theater at least.
So you could just collapse to your side and bawl.
But yeah, they just kept bringing it with. I'm like, oh, that's so sad. What did you guys think?
I forgot. Oh, peanut butter sandwiches. I will give it all the peanut butter sandwiches that have ever been peanut buttered. That is not to say that it wasn't without plot holes or flaws, but pretty much I may have never loved anything so much in my entire life. For those who don't know, I did see it Thursday night at 5, Friday morning at 8, Saturday night at 8. I might go tomorrow while my husband's at work. I'm just saying.
That was going to be my question. How many times have you seen it so far? It is Monday. It is Monday evening, and this came out.
I did want to do Sunday I wanted to do Sunday just to, do the whole entire opening weekend, but apparently that was crazy according to Mr. Rocks. So, but yeah, it made me so joyful and miserable and feels I am not really an analytical type of person, and so the more feels you can give me, the better, and this was just all the feels.
All right, excellent. Michal?
Yes, I 5 peanut butter sandwiches. I don't think I've ever given a movie 5 stars or 5 whatever. Certainly not a Marvel movie. Maybe Black Panther, but this was it's not perfect, but it's perfect. The problems that I have are pretty much all stuff that they didn't do, as opposed to stuff that they did do. And I was watching it, and I was like, I knew I was going to enjoy it. I enjoyed Infinity War. I enjoy most of these movies, and just sitting and watching them. But they landed the plane. I really keep thinking about how how you do that, how you wrap up 22 movies in one movie with such like, it felt like they weren't even breaking a sweat. And
so impressive.
Yeah.
I will say I was not confident going into this because I've sort of stayed off everything all weekend, and I haven't looked. I've looked at some of the clips and stuff over the last couple months, but not a lot. So I didn't know a lot of what was going on, except for like I've seen some of the like merchandise reveals, and I'm like, Quantum Realm. This is gonna be some sort of time machine. That sounds stupid. Like I didn't know a lot, and I just was like, I don't know how they're gonna do this. How are they gonna make it, epic? Are they gonna reset everything? And I was surprised by some things I expected, but were in different ways. But at the end of the day, I was very satisfied in what they did, and just very surprised. And just to speak to the longevity of the MCU, how long it's been going on, people are still interested in these movies and these characters, and this is kind of the end of that major phase. We'll see where it goes, but let's talk about the records that they broke this weekend. Which, I mean, my favorite movie has the most money. Doesn't really matter. It's a bunch of rich studios, making all this money, and doesn't really matter to us, necessarily. But I just think the box office total just kind of shows how it does resonate with an audience. And it's telling that 357 million for the opening weekend, over 100 million more than the next closest, just crushed it. And the number 2 movie for the weekend is a movie that's 2 months old, Captain Marvel. Had 8 million. So people clearly were like, got to catch up and go see Endgame. I mean, this is like, even Infinity War did not have this kind of reaction. So, and it's probably because of Infinity War that people were so keen to see this.
I mean, I think also, like, it can't have hurt that pretty much all the critics got out and were like, yep. Like, even the New York Times, like, if you expect, snooty snark from any reviewer, it's A.O. Scott, and he was like, look, they did it.
Yeah. It kind of made me a little hesitant, just the scope of the accolades for how amazing it was, blah blah blah, but it didn't, that kind of concern over expectation, are my expectations too high, in this case completely didn't diminish anything. And I'm sure that there are quite a few people who were sort of tipped into like, well, I wasn't going to go see it this weekend, but I guess I will because everybody says it's so good.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I feel like you kind of had to see it, and thankfully being at Ice and Fire Con, I kind of stayed away from everything and didn't have to like go to work and hear people talking about it or anything.
Yeah. You were at Ice and Fire Con. That's great.
Excuse me. Pardon me. Oh, did I mention that?
Talking to the two people here who don't want to hear it.
We'll just mention it was my first year, and it was a lot of fun, and it was a great weekend. But we'll have a recap episode forthcoming for anyone who's interested in that.
Which I can't wait to listen to.
I'm gonna save it for that because I could just go on. Honestly, my point is that I hadn't really seen any of these reviews. Really, I mean, I've seen a few headlines before today, but I have friends that posted on Facebook, not spoilery stuff. People that I know are particularly harsh on movies, post like, Avengers Infinity War is not a terrible movie, stuff that like for them is like, oh, okay, like I know that they don't really love, the Marvel universe necessarily. They were big critics sometimes. So even that, I'm like, okay, that obviously, had me curious as to what I was getting into. But it was 3 hours and something minutes?
It's, I think, 3 hours and 1 minute.
Yeah, a little over 3 hours. There's no post-credit scene or anything like that to deal with. They just kind of let this speak for itself. And I mean, if anything, I felt like I wanted more. Like I never was like, what's happening? I'd get to the point. Like,
I could have sat there for another couple hours.
Yeah, for a 3 hour movie, that's hard. I mean, even movies I love, like I watch, Lord of the Rings. You watch the extended editions, and every now and they're slow movies at points. And sometimes you have to like, oh, this is a good point to go to the bathroom. Like there was never a point, where you want to get out of your seat. So, it's hats off.
Did you guys have to pee?
The second time because the second time we went at 8 a.m, and I made the mistake of having a cup of tea. But to go into great detail, it wasn't that that pee where you've drank a lot of water or something and you have to go pee because there's water in there. It was that pee where it's like, okay, this is just caffeine squeezing my bladder, so I'm okay. You can feel free to leave that in or cut it out, but I didn't pee over those 9 hours.
I think I was saved because I saw the first showing of the day, and I got in and they had one person at the concession and like 30 people lined up, and I was like, nope. Geez. So yeah, I was like, I'd really like a drink. I'm not hungry, but I'd like to have something to drink. And I did not.
Yeah, I saw it at 10:30 in the morning, and I was like, okay, so no coffee, and you know what? Maybe just don't drink anything. So I basically just didn't drink that whole morning, and then like maybe 2/3 of the way through the movie, I was like, it's probably safe to take a sip of water. Yes, deliberate dehydration, at least for your first time through the movie.
Strategic.
Yeah.
So let's just get into the meat of the movie itself. We've already talked a little bit about the soft opening there with Hawkeye, who had a very well developed story in this movie after being non-existent in Infinity War. And I don't know, was this shot for Infinity War? Maybe you think, or was this shot for this movie? I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I believe it either way,
but I would just like to say, I'm not an ardent Hawkeye gal, but I'm certainly so annoyed with the people who are just like, oh, and then there's Hawkeye. Like, he didn't even need to be in this movie at all. I think he was perfectly lovely, and I think it added depth to the whole shit with Black Widow, and good for you, Jeremy Renner. You're fine. He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, Hawkeye's not really in the same league a lot of times when they're fighting villains like this, but he fills his role very well, and I felt sad to see him go on his worldwide murder spree after losing his family. That was unfortunate. And I knew when they sent him and Black Widow off together, I knew that was going to end in tears.
I'll admit I was and am still kind of distracted by the hair. I just don't understand what's going on there. I don't know why.
It's a choice.
It is definitely a choice.
He looks like a 10-year-old boy whose like parents just let him do whatever.
Yes, he does.
What were they going for? I guess maybe I could have understood like a completely shaved head, because then you're like, oh, that's tactical for whatever reason with his getup or something. But
yeah, it just didn't work.
It was weird. Yeah.
But I mean, I think I give Jeremy Renner credit because I really do think he's been done pretty badly over the past 10 some odd years, and he showed up and was very powerful, and yeah.
Okay, what else? Go.
Okay, so from there we get the opening and all that, and probably we spend the first 15-20 minutes of the movie. Captain Marvel's already there. I guess that the post Captain Marvel scene that we got isn't in this movie, but it's they've called her. She goes out and rescues Tony, and then we flash forward 5 years. Is it?
Well, no. First, then Tony gets back and has a breakdown, and then they go and try to kill Thanos.
They have to kill Thanos, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So they kill Thanos in like the first 15 minutes or so, and I'm like, that's like so inconsequential. That,
when you're like the stuff from the trailer that seems like it's from the climax of the movie is in the first 15 minutes, shit's going down.
Yeah, and I mean when they showed up on his garden planet and he was all, devastated by the gauntlet. Yeah, I thought, well, things aren't going like I thought. I assumed this mission to find him and get the gauntlet and snap things back was going to be kind of the main story with something else going on. But
apparently, salt is universal. I just thought that was interesting.
Everybody loves salt.
Yeah.
So
no, just to say for a second, Tony, when he gets back, and like the absolute meltdown that he has with Steve, it about broke my heart. I was too dehydrated to cry.
Yeah.
Broke my
and I mean,
heart,
he was so emaciated. He was just a defeated man, I mean, very clear.
Yeah, that was impressive.
PTSD. It was bad.
And Nebula. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but her fucking taking care of him in her shitty, bitchy, sadistic way, but yet giving him the food and fucking putting him in the captain's chair so he can die. You know, it was just talk about heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was very sweet. I've liked that character really since since last Guardians movie. I think they've really done a good job developing her. But I didn't think they were going to die in space, but for a second I almost did. And then
I was like, why didn't I think of that? Obviously, Carol can go get him.
But like, she can fly them through space. I thought she still used a spaceship, but I didn't. I guess I was not clear.
No, that's Captain Marvel. She just shoots out into space.
She like warps away.
I didn't think of this until just now. But I just had always assumed like she just sensed that somebody needed help. But I suppose, has she already gotten paged back to Earth and they sent her to find them?
Yeah, that's what I picked. Okay. That's what I read it as. Is that post-credit scene where she shows up? They had a familiarity when she brings the ship down, as if like they'd been working together or at least kind of knew each other a little bit.
Yeah, it seemed like the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel must have happened a couple of like days before. Like she just got there, and then really lucky that they found where Fury's.
They were probably searching for Tony that whole time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what? It takes them. Is it like it takes them a week to go to find Thanos and kill him? At this point,
it's pretty quick. Yeah.
Or something like that. It's very quick. Everything goes to plan, but not. And then they just have to sort of settle into the new world and give up on their plan, and everyone sort of goes their separate ways, and then we don't see Captain Marvel again for quite a while.
Well, first we see her short, cute hair, and then she goes away for
pansexual haircut. Yeah.
Yeah, in the when she's talking to Black Widow, and they're all sort of reporting in from all over the place. So they've jumped 5 years ahead, and I'm a sucker for post-apocalyptic stuff, so I loved it. But I did think that the world's gone to such shit. Obviously, they're going to reset time back to Infinity War. None of this is going to stick, which ended up being wrong. But it works. But I did think it was particularly sad. Just they've stopped playing sports. Half the people are gone. The cars littering the streets. Everyone's just sort of a lot of people have just given up on stuff.
Little Captain kid on the bike did a really good haunted expression at Ant-Man.
I mean, why would he even be on a bike? Why doesn't he have a job? I mean, you know what I mean? We don't have that many workers.
Yes, but I think the global economy has probably made a lot of work redundant. Or there's enough work for I don't know. I'm sure Bina knows what happened.
Yeah, if half the people disappeared, what would society collapse? Would we be better? I don't know. I mean, they're having earthquakes that they need to investigate in the bottom of the sea, but it's just an earthquake. You just let it go, apparently. So can't stop the earthquakes. But that was supposed to be a sign of like the universe was fractured? Is that's what I took that as? Is that right?
No, I thought it was just a normal earthquake.
Just an earthquake. Is what I thought.
Okay, because Carol says things like, she said, this sort of stuff is happening all over the world or all over the universe, so she's going to various planets and trying to help their problem. The population.
Social stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's what I assumed.
Could be unrelated. Could be Atlantis. Who knows? Anyway. So, did you guys expect this? I expected some sort of jump. I thought maybe they'd, 6 months ahead and they find Thanos and try to reset things or something. I didn't expect them to kill him like right away, and then the world just sort of moves on or attempts to move on with sad Steve and his group of like 5 guys. I would have thought that would be a bigger meeting, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, all we had to theorize on was Romanoff's hair.
Which she
really
changes
cute.
all the time. So.
Yeah.
I did like her hair in this movie.
It was pretty like a flame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, was she was kind of running the like world, like super intelligence sort of, like, is she like the kind of the Nick Fury in this situation?
I think so.
Yeah.
Although it just didn't seem like much was happening.
Yeah. I mean,
which I'm sure made her feel even less useful.
And I guess, I mean, we'll see when Far From Home comes out in, I think, July. I guess we'll get a better idea of how the world has adapted or moved on and how people feel. But like that end scene when Peter's going back to school feels kind of weird. Like it felt almost like all those kids were just going back to school. I mean, I guess a lot of them were.
Well, and that was something I've been trying to get my head around the time travel. So I've been reading a lot of articles, which I normally don't do. And like somebody did bring up the point that like, okay, did Ned and like everybody else who appears and is the same must have also been snapped, right? Because otherwise, like Ned would have graduated high school in that time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming that MJ and
Flash, yeah. That would be interesting. I never thought about that. That'll be kind of an interesting thing for them to deal with going forward. Also, like, the guy in the first scene there with Cap that was like trying to move on from his past husband, I think it was, or boyfriend or whatever. He's found someone new, but then the guy comes back. And that's going to be a whole thing. And then what about, I mean, I'm sure people that were left behind committed suicide out of sadness. And then did they come back too?
No.
So, I mean, these are all not questions they have time to answer at all. They're just kind of silly.
No, but I thought
run around their head.
It's such an interesting thing. And I don't know, I do wish I had a little more faith that they might touch on some of this craziness. Just because I think that like, I kept thinking when they were like, okay, we have to undo the snap. And I'm like, okay, but then you're also killing people. Because like there have presumably been people born since then, and they're all kids. So you're going to be killing a bunch of poor 3-year-old
Tony's
children.
Kid.
Yeah.
And this is why Tony was like, I don't want to reset. I just want to get people back and bring them into now, and we deal with it from now. I don't want to go back and risk anything changing. Which I understand that. So
basically, if you want to go into therapy, it's a good time.
The whole planet needs therapy for an extended period of time. Absolutely. So what did we think of, the semi-retirement of Tony, of Thor, of, these people that just sort of withdrew from everything? But Tony he's still working. I mean, he's making new suits. He's doing something. He's just sort of focusing on his lovely new daughter that obviously has changed his focus in life.
I mean, that's kind of their prerogative. I don't know. Thor was completely hilarious and depressing. So sad.
Valkyrie, Korg, they lived. We got Smart Hulk. Smart Hulk is smart.
Yeah.
He was disturbingly attractive. Like, I always thought young Mark Ruffalo was cute. Never really dug the Hulk. He's aging just fine, but you put the two together and it was like, oh, that's not normally my cup of tea, but hey, green tea.
Did he hint that he was dating Natalie Portman's character? Is that what?
Oh my God. When? What?
At one point, maybe I'm wrong, but he was talking about something about how, like when he was talking to Thor, and he was talking about how, Jane Foster left him or something, and like he did a thing
when he was teaching him about the ether. I think he was just trying to cut him off because he was babbling at that point and embarrassing
for a second,
himself.
I thought he was being like, yeah, she's with me now. And I was like, wait, what? So confused. Yeah, maybe I misread that. Yeah, I mean, I again, and I was into this. I was enjoying, because this is something they do in comics where you get a lot of these like alternate futures or post-apocalyptic futures, and they always get reset pretty much back to normal, which is what I was expecting to happen here. So I'm just like, yeah, go as far, Smart Hulk, whatever you want to do, go as far with it as you can. So whatever they were down for, I was up with, but yeah, I was glad to see, they confirmed certain people had survived and we weren't sure about. And I did think that somehow Ant-Man's gear all got put into a random self-storage by who? Because last time we see them, he's, we lose Hank and his wife and Hope, but they're in a parking garage, right? There's no one else around. So someone would have to know this was his shit, and without trying to press the button to bring him back.
Who's dude? Luis? Is that his name?
Right. I would have thought maybe, or one of the Avengers or somebody might realize the significance of that. But I mean, a lot of things I'm sure fall through the cracks when half the world disappears. So I'll forgive that. But
Cassie was they were hey, here's.
She would have been little though, thing. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, little, but I think she's 11.
Or her parents, I guess.
Yeah, it's not clear what happened to her mom and dad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they must have just assumed that he was snapped when somehow they came along the van somehow.
Yeah.
Just made the assumption because that's what happened to everyone else that day. So.
I'm sure I gotta say, it's not unusual to have cars that were abandoned.
Speaking of which, a la sort of Walking Dead, cars all over the road, and that opening shot of New York. So Ant-Man drives his shitty van from San Francisco to Avengers headquarters. That seems challenging in a semi. I mean, it's only half the people. There's probably gas stations and stuff, but the way that they set everything up, it's just life has completely ground to a halt and not really started up again.
I could have watched a few minutes of his Mad Max road trip, through the American Southwest, right?
I love Paul Rudd. I love him so much.
Roving street gangs. Anyway. Yeah, so he shows up and he has a plan and he has a hot tub time machine. So,
oh, man.
Which is, I guess, sort of what we thought they were going to do, maybe not in this way. But I really enjoyed the whole idea of we got to take a trip down memory lane. But I don't know how well they followed their own rules, which is what always happens with time travel anyway. But
yeah, there's no way. But I don't care. And I still loved it. And it makes no sense for Cap to have lived an entire life just hanging out and getting old.
Created a splinter universe or
alternate
something.
Timelines, and wouldn't things have still happened? Wouldn't Peggy have still been running S.H.I.E.L.D. and he's just going to stay at home and be a house husband? I mean, maybe, but
I don't care. That makes perfect sense to me. I'm sure he would do whatever.
Really just ignore everything going on in the world?
Yes, because he knows how it turns out. When you know that your other version is coming to save it or whatever, you don't need to lift a hand. I think if he felt that he had to, he would, and maybe he did along the way. I want to know what happened to Mjolnir, wherever that went. Can I say, Captain America: The Worthy was one of the best parts.
Oh
of this
my
movie.
God! Oh my God! I have goosebumps right now just thinking about it. Oh my God!
And then Thor's reaction is bro, I knew it. Yeah.
And the whole here, that just half a second of you take the small one, I'll take the big one. Oh, so funny.
I also,
I really wondered why he grabbed Mjolnir when he went to the past. I was so confused until that moment.
I mean, good to have that was he was quite
dual
attached
wield,
to it.
Man. Yeah, but his past self needed it. So changing the past, it's all right.
But changing the past doesn't change the future.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And also,
maybe,
if you go put everything back at the exact same moment.
Yeah, maybe that's what that was, is saying that he's gonna, when he puts the ether back, he puts the hammer back. Maybe.
It was a little
I'm good with
frustrating to me. I didn't really love the turn directly to the camera, referencing all possible pop cultural incarnations of time travel and address exactly what happened. Just because I feel like that's not going to age well. I feel like we're actually on the ending lip of time where Back to the Future jokes really work. And
Aww.
I know. I'm sure they'll remake it or something, but yeah.
We'll see. Oh, I won't even know what to do that day.
But in the meantime, I loved it and it made me happy. So, and I was very happy that they included Somewhere in Time, which is the cheesiest and makes me happy. Look it up, kids.
And from this point, I'll say, especially because I know, Amber, you've got limited time here. We don't have to go in order. We can just kind of go with whatever. I want to say that the whole plot line, bringing Thanos back into this battle, pulling Thanos from a past universe, and like his whole armada was genius, and I did not see coming. The two nebulas, that was, and then of course the earlier nebula wasn't really at that point where she could be brought around. So,
she went through a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, earlier Nebula. I mean, just to rant for a second about how good Nebula is and how good Karen Gillan is. It's such a hard role. Like forget that the character
makeup.
So much makeup, so much prosthetics, so much special
weird
effects.
Accent, facial expressions. There's just, she conveyed all of it somehow in every moment. And you could easily tell which one was which as well. I mean, she really brought a difference to the character on both sides.
Yeah.
The Avengers couldn't, but whatever.
Well, it was dark, and I'm surprised that, when they went to, okay, let's put the gauntlet on, no one was like, hey, where's Nebula? I thought maybe she was going to grab it in that moment, or I didn't know what was going to go on. But, she was the only one that wasn't there, and they didn't notice it, which is kind of on them.
Because she had really been part of the team at that point, particularly her and Rhodey.
That's why Nat had to die, because she would have immediately copped that it was not.
Yes. Yeah. What else? What else should I babble really quick before I go? Because I could talk about this for 5 hours.
What did you think about that? I mean, I didn't know, that whole scene. I didn't know which one of them it was going to be, because they were both trying to sacrifice themselves until right at the end there. And
I didn't even have to pee.
Scene.
The second and third times I saw that, I didn't even have to pee, and I kind of wanted to just leave because I didn't want to see it. It was just, it was so perfectly executed, and it's so nice. And I know maybe it's just on me that I get so hooked into tropes, but I mean, it's just so nice to see a freaking attractive man and woman being really, really closely, deeply bonded friends, and to put their little heads together against a beautiful backdrop and know that they love each other, and it's not they're not going to smooch. It's just, I feel like you don't see a lot of deep male-female friendships.
No, I mean, that's what stood out to me as well, that we don't get this hardly ever, certainly not movies and TV. He's got a family and he's happy, and it's got nothing to do with that, but they are just, they're these two souls that are very connected through their, shared experience as the best of friends. It's like Cap and Bucky.
Well, that might be slightly more romantic.
Aww.
For the shippers, yes.
Yes, please.
Bucky is alive. What?
Oh, the Captain America fighting himself was lovely. Oh, that's America's ass.
And I don't read comics, but I did know about the Hail Hydra thing, and that was so fucking brilliant. It was so brilliant. Oh my Lord.
I love that, because I was also that was such a perfect way. I read somebody in a Facebook group I run didn't like it, and she was like, that seemed like a slap in the face to the fans who didn't like it. And I'm like, no, it's the exact opposite, because this is the only time it actually would be totally great and perfect and fine for Cap to say Hail Hydra, because he doesn't mean it at all and is pulling one over on everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. I love the look on all their faces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you think he's going to do the "would anyone like to get out before we get started" thing?
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen.
It's so good. It's so good. And also, oh my God, when he's fighting himself and he's like, chipper old Cap is like, I can't play. And he's like, oh no.
I found Loki.
I get it.
That was so great though, because I think that looking back, if we actually watched the movie, he wouldn't be quite that annoying, but like
he was awfully.
He was right. He really was, and the fact that he was swearing in this movie. And
yes,
we've known him for so long that we know that's a huge deal.
I kept languaging him in my head. I'm like, oh, Cap, language. I love him. I love him.
Yeah, Cap evolved, and he grew really old, and he's left us now. Maybe if you want Amber comment, I mean, now we've lost. I mean, I'm not going to say we didn't lose enough people in this because, it's not Game of Thrones, but I mean, we lost Tony Stark, who, well done, end of his story. We've lost, Captain America, Chris Evans, and he passed the shield on. We lost Black Widow. I mean, and these were kind of the three. I mean, we see, Tony Stark obviously starts the MCU. Captain America's not that far behind, and in the timeline, he's the first. And then you've got Black Widow was still there before Avengers, and she's still, one of the earliest, heroes in this universe. So,
well, and she's been so key, sort of behind the scenes of so many movies, not just. Well, she hasn't had her own, but I mean, I don't know. If we could actually have a real conversation, I could talk for like 3 hours, but I should go. But I want to say, I don't even know what I want to say. There's so much. I just loved it. But also, just, did anybody else know who the kid at the end was?
Not until I Googled it.
At Tony's funeral. Did you figure it out? Because that's pretty impressive. Because I was like, who the fuck is that?
I'm not sure if I was like in the movie and was like, who's that? Oh, it must be him, even though I don't recognize him. Or I was thinking about it after because it stands out so clearly.
Right. Yeah.
But I did realize at some point on my own, but I was really proud of myself.
So I guess he's probably impressive. Kept up with that kid. I did not. I was just like, whose child is that? I was trying to figure out who it was.
And this is where I make my stand and say that I really liked Iron Man 3. I thought it was fantastic. So everybody can suck a dick.
All right, hot take from Amber. I don't hate Iron Man 3 as much as other people. So
I have issues, but whatever.
Yeah,
but not because of like the Mandarin thing. Like I like that.
Oh, he was
there are other problems with that movie. But then you get you get the house party. So
thank you for managing to get me on to chat about it. I hope I was not too incoherent. I am excited to listen to the rest of it. And that's it. I'm out.
No, it's great. Thanks.
It's awesome, Amber.
Yay! Thank you. Love you guys. Bye bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye, Amber.
Don't you love me, Adam?
I do, obviously. I love you. I love everyone in our group. I love all the vassals. And just like that, Amber was snapped away. But we've brought some reinforcements here on our left. And Paul's joined the discussion. How's it going, Paul?
Oh, it's good. It's very good. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Out of
Well, yeah. What would your peanut butter sandwich rating be? What would your peanut butter sandwich rating
be?
Hello. Peanut butter sandwich rating would have to be just like 4.8. I'm gonna 4.8.
Take a little off. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna remove the crust.
Black Widow already had taken a bite of that one peanut butter sandwich, so I'm gonna say that's the little part that doesn't get counted. But
yeah.
It was. Again, I'll say it was very good for how it just kept surprising me. And I will take a little bit off simply for the fact that, first off, they first made me cry with frickin' Ant-Man of all people. That's how I first started tearing up. But also just kind of, I didn't know how I felt about Thor. I mean, of course, I laughed along with the theater immediately afterwards, but like after Ragnarok set him up to be confident enough in himself, and like trusting of like he doesn't need to prove himself to other people. He just needs to ensure that his friends are safe and that his people are safe, and he's ready to like Thor Ragnarok ends with him being like, okay, now that father is gone, I'm taking up the mantle of leader of Asgard. And then at this one, like he gives it away to Valkyrie, which I mean, if you're going to give it away to someone, Valkyrie's the person to do it. But it had already been set up in Ragnarok that he's okay, now he's king of Asgard, even if it's more like mayor of Asgard now. But I just didn't like. I felt they did him dirty. They did him dirty.
I was saddened by it, but I also understood that just because more than anyone else, he shows up in Infinity War crushing it, and it's like, I've got this. And it's like, well, you know, when you aim for the king, you better not miss, and he missed. And he's been living with that for 5 years, and I think that's something, even as a god, as an Asgardian, even losing his home realm, he didn't really deal with that before. Not on this level. I mean, like half the universe, you know, was failed in his opinion, and that's hard to get over. So you know, beer gut and Fortnite.
Also, like he starts Infinity War even with so much trauma, you know. So like right from there, they're going into like you were prepared for the situation that you had been in, but the situation changed really fast and really drastically.
Yeah, I think.
And I mean, he's laughing so he doesn't cry in Infinity War, right?
Oh, he comes like even in that one scene when Hulk shows up and is like, "Are you okay?" He does come close to crying so many times in that conversation. I mean, I just saw it last night again, so everything's still pretty fresh in my head. Well, it was either that or catch the new Game of Thrones episode, and I was like, nah, I kind of want to see Infinity War again.
So I saw them in reverse order. But I was like, you know, I was talking about the episode quite a bit last night, and then I was only able to see this morning. I went to like the first showing, and then I came out of that. I'm like, well, this is all I want to talk about now.
Oh yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah, that's also props to them for making Thor 2 relevant again.
Yes,
because I felt like
and redeeming it a little bit.
Certainly redeeming it in the vein of Thor's relationship with his mother, because all we've ever gotten is Thor and Odin. I take from you your power, ha! And thank you, Anthony Hopkins. But like, I barely recalled in Thor 2 his mother being involved in his life, and I kind of wanted more of that. And they gifted it to us in that the time travel, so that he could actually work out his trauma with someone who's caring
at all.
Oh yeah, like it's all Rocket who does it. Rocket goes in, he stabs Natalie Portman with that odd instrument, and Natalie Portman's licensed image, and then just kind of runs away. But
it's I did love that they spent more time, because in the Dark World, it was mostly the two brothers, you know, and the father-son relationship. And then when the mom dies, they're both like really broken up about it. But like, you were like, well, we didn't see enough of that. So I agree.
Yeah.
And did this, I guess, in relation to Thor, is Loki on the loose in this world, or what's going on?
I felt like this was their, ooh, Loki's back. Because they already, like, sure, Loki dies then, but then they change it, and like, but it's like old Loki. So it's not Loki who's kind of come to grips with his brother and like.
So you think villain Loki?
I think like villain Loki is going to be coming back.
Yeah, this is fresh off of But the thing is, I don't really understand how that works, because if Cap went back in time to replace the stones from the point where they stole them,
it's. Was it you who said this, Michal, that it runs the line of fantasy and science fiction that you don't need to give a shit about.
Yeah, no, and I totally believe that. I'm just curious, like, I'm more curious if they imagine it having an answer than I am, like,
yeah.
I don't think anyone should let the movie be broken by, by stuff that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of their opportunity to bring back villain Loki, because yes, it's been nice to have like Thor and Loki, two brothers, back again, but I'll also just kind of like villain Loki, cocky, arrogant, wanting.
I love the true neutral Loki.
Yes, true neutral Loki. I don't know. Maybe they might work on that later in the next as Guardians of the Galaxy film.
It could be both. It could be a little both, a little the trickster,
One of the things that my friend brought up to me as we were leaving the theater is that Peter Quill at the end searching for past Gamora, and like he's like going through the map, and then Thor changes it, and of course they play it off as, oh, who's the real leader? But he's like, dude, I'm pretty sure Thor's looking for Loki now that he escaped, and that's why he's going with the guys on the ship. Yeah, and so that's what kind of causes that first little conflict, because Thor's like, no, we're going to find my brother, and Quill's like, no, we're finding Gamora. Does killing your past self have any ramifications? Because Nebula is still there.
No, I don't think it does. Okay. The thing is, the easiest way for me to think about this, which I don't think is the way they conceive of it, is that every individual person has their own timeline, and there are events that can affect a heck of a lot of people's timelines. But the way they set it out with your past is your past, and that's not changing, and your future is your future. And whatever happens in a linear fashion, no matter where you are in the objective timeline, that is your past, present, and future. That to me suggests that, but I'm not very good at time travel.
Time is a lot like Jeremy Bearimy. We're dealing with that kind of time.
I think they don't want us to really look at it too closely, and I think it's fine. Because to me,
hence the jokes of Back to the Future and stuff like that.
Hot Tub Time Machine. If they have a way of
Die Hard.
This character, look at all the time we messed around with, and this dead character is actually back, and they just want to reinsert them. They don't have to really do a whole lot now to do that convincingly, and you can just say, I'm going to accept it, as long as you explain, give me a little, quick explanation. Okay, I'm following along. Fine.
Yeah, it's comic logic. If it makes at least a little bit of sense and it makes a compelling story, go with it.
Yeah, I'll follow you as long as you give me a rule and don't break it like 5 minutes later or something. That's fine.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the implication more than the fact that Loki is, because, in the text of the movie, it could just be like, all right, Loki disappeared then, but then Cap went back and changed it and everything proceeded as normal,
Yeah.
But obviously we know that there's more stuff coming. For some reason, very few things at the end of the movie made me as happy as the prospect of Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited for that now.
Very weirdly hard for me to connect to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I never really jived with them. And this is like perfection. But for some reason, I hadn't thought about Loki being in that equation. And I think something somewhere just like went off in fireworks, because that is just, I cannot imagine the level of crazy that would get.
I am looking forward to that, because this movie also made me realize just how much I fucking love Nebula. They made her such a compelling character in this film, and I was just like my friend, she loves Captain Marvel, and she was happy when she kind of acted as the cavalry at the end. But I was just like, yeah, but Nebula, like, before, she's always just kind of been, she's the villain in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, the kind of disgruntled,
she's the angry child in the second one.
The angry child in the second one, the revenge-driven bounty hunter in the Infinity War, kind of like out to kill Thanos. And finally, you have the broken sister who is looking to repair everything. And
and she'll kill herself to do it.
Oh, and just so much respect to is it Karen Gillan who plays her?
Karen Gillan,
yeah.
Yeah, she's
Amy Pond.
She plays her so well, And
yeah, we mentioned that just, I mean, with the prosthetics, with having to play two different personalities essentially, like she did just such a great job in this movie. And when that character first came in Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't see it having this lasting role.
Yeah,
but I think maybe it's just because they like her so much, and there's been positive response that they've let her shine.
And it was just, this movie was, for a lot of this, was just me kind of whispering "oh shit" under my breath, because I can't yell it because there was like a few kids in the rows in front of me, and I didn't want their parents to like turn around and yell at me. But like the line, "we're not the only ones looking for Infinity Stones in 2014. Like, who else is looking for them? Thanos, my sister, me." And I just kind of whispered like, "oh shit, they're gonna meet past Nebula." And like just the way they built it all up, I had the excitement building up in me until we finally get like her networking kind of going cuckoo, and finally like the standoff where she shoots herself to save Gamora, and just good movies.
It's truly agonizing. Like when you see like her whole and the tension when you realize that for some reason, for whatever reason, her network is scrambled. Like it, and she's giving everything away.
Someone has the Wi-Fi password.
Oh.
I did not expect them to bring past Thanos back. I said this earlier. I didn't expect that whole angle. I thought that was genius. I thought this was going to be an issue of we time travel back to the point and stop him in Wakanda. And, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
This was amazing the way they did this. He brought his whole fleet in, created this epic battle. You had, the
going back to
Nebula
New York in 2012.
All the travel through our MCU history, reminding us of the things we loved, and like, oh hey, look, the Sanctum Sanctorum was there, even though we hadn't done that yet. Like, like it was just very, very well done. There's so many balls to juggle here. I mean, I don't know how you do it, and you did it.
They landed them all
in a 3-hour movie where, as I said earlier, like I wasn't bored. I wasn't like, oh, get to this scene or that scene. I was just sort of like, oh yeah, oh, and that. And I mean, it was a fairly packed theater, but it wasn't like a fan theater necessarily. There wasn't as much reaction maybe as there would have been opening night. So there's a few moments where like I yelled or like popped my fist or something. And I'm like, oh, I gotta keep quiet. This is 11 a.m. This is not that showing.
Yeah, like the showing I went to on Friday was like, started out, people tended to just be very quiet. There wasn't like clapping when they had like the Avengers title pop up. But by the end, in the final battle, when Cap picks up Thor's hammer, you heard many people just going, "Oh yeah," or something like that, and just anticipation built up through the movie until it culminated in that final battle.
And then fucking on your left, like turned out
on your left.
On all around you, you're like, holy shit!
Like Super Smash Bros. Everyone's here. It was a very good movie, and one of the things is, my friend, he saw it like Thursday night, and he told me to go see it. And I'm like, okay, is it good? He's like, yeah. And also, it's like his words were, it's like the return of the king of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And once we started getting those multiple endings, I started having a bit of nostalgia for how Return of the King has its multiple endings. And I'm like, they're wrapping up everyone's story. Each one's getting kind of like their own nod.
Like when they all show up at the end, like through Doctor Strange's portals, and it's literally like, oh, this is like all of person kind, like they all showed up to do this. I just like, my heart was swelling. It was like, this is too good. I can't.
Also, seeing it for a second time is kind of just a must, I would say, for people, because you realize so many different things. I teared up at the end, not with like I Love You 3000. I bawled like a child at the first showing for I Love You 3000. But when Peter goes back to school and Ned starts walking towards him, I thought to myself, oh no, Ned vanished? But then I remembered, no, Peter Parker vanished, and Ned had his best friend gone for 5 years. And I just kind of started like going, "Oh God,
well,
Ned!"
I think he must have vanished though, because otherwise he would have been out of school, right? That's what we thought.
Oh shit, maybe. Damn. Okay, that's true.
But yeah.
Never mind. My tears were unwarranted.
That's what I thought too. Seeing it, I cried the whole damn time at this stupid movie. Like Hawkeye's family goes, and I'm just sitting over here like, "Are you kidding me?" You know. So whatever. Damn you, Marvel.
Yeah.
The only time I really choked up, and again, I think because I was dehydrated, was because for some reason I don't even like the character of Happy. I don't like him. But when he's sitting with Morgan after the funeral, and he's like, "I'm going to get you all the cheeseburgers you want," I was just like, "Oh my God!" Because they do. I think it's also because the kid is quite young.
Oh, but she's adorable.
I think they do a really smart thing where it's like, she doesn't know what's going on, you know? Like, she's not sad particularly because she doesn't get it yet. And it was just so heartbreaking to have like him be there and be like watch, you know, you could see that he was seeing her future. And
and I think he's probably going to become like, I mean, he's Uncle Happy. He'll probably I mean, in the comics, like him and Pepper get married, so you know, like he's probably
he's going for Aunt May
look
now.
over her. So that's true. Oh goodness gracious!
Also, who was that one kid at the funeral that I couldn't place at all?
That's what I had to look it up.
Because we're passing, I'm like, oh, the family from Wakanda, and there's Nick Fury, and there's Captain Marvel. Who the fuck are you? Get the fuck out of my shocking emotional scene.
It was the kid that let him use his garage to charge his suit in Iron Man 3.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That's too much of a callback to put him in this heartbreaking emotional scene when everyone's saying goodbye to him.
When was Iron Man 3? Like 2013? Or, I mean, the kid's grown up quite a bit, and I thought he was just someone's child. I couldn't tell until I looked it up, and I was like, okay, that's
didn't remember enough of, like, Iron Man 3 to even register who that was. All right, so it is kid from Iron Man 3. They could have done without him because I felt like everyone there had a place, and then it's just some random guy at this funeral, and they kind of like are panning past him like they have every other like major superhero who's basically had their own film already, and then there's this guy. I'm like, you have the balls to just pan past this random person during this emotional scene.
I suspect Tony probably also had like a state funeral where like, you know, the whole damn world shows up or something. But I don't know. I would have expected maybe some more people at that little private ceremony, and maybe that kid's parents or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was still a great moment. I'm just
running through.
He was the only one that could have ended this because he made the gauntlet out of like his nanomachines. Is that the way it worked really? Because when he goes up to Thanos, he doesn't take the jewels off, or the gems off. Like he like uses the nanomachines, I think, to kind of transfer them to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't have time to just like pull them all off. So.
Well, and it's also like when with the Doctor Strange, the finger of just one. My friend I was seeing it with last night. He's like, yeah, I don't get that. And I'm like, well, Doctor Strange is saying they got one chance and to just give it his all.
And that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
what he
risk
says was
everything.
Like, if I tell you what happens, it won't happen. And then I was like, oh, Tony's going to die.
Does it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I felt like at first when I saw that one, I was like, oh, is he saying just get one of the stones away and then it won't work? Is that what he's saying?
But, and then someone, I think it was Friday night, we had this discussion of how with Thanos in First Infinity War is kind of like a humble villain in that, like, yes, everything relies on him, but he's understanding of his opponents. He's not doing this out of malice. He's like, I hope they remember you, Tony Stark. And he kind of takes on this almost kind of sickeningly condescending attitude toward people. But then with
yeah, that can I just interrupt you for a second though?
Oh, please go ahead.
I call this the Tywin Lannister principle, which is the more you like intellectually justify your genocidal atrocities, the more you're just actually a genocidal maniac who really loves killing people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, that kind of comes out because, like, the original Thanos, okay, once it's done, he just goes over to a hut and just kind of lives peacefully as a farmer for a little bit. But then when he finds out in the when past Thanos finds out that people are just gonna not accept you killing their loved ones, he's like, well, now I have to kill everyone. And then he becomes kind of like this more obviously vindictive genocidal guy, because the scary thing about Infinity War is you see sort of what Thanos means when he's talking about like lack of resources, yada yada, and like you're like, oh well, maybe Thanos isn't really a bad guy per se, but he's what he's doing is bad. We don't support what he's doing, but I don't think he's a bad person. This one, they're like, no, he was only a good person because like no one was able to really stop him from doing what he wanted. When you stopped him from doing what he wanted, then he kind of reveals his true colors.
Mm-hmm. So was he going to just to kill everyone, or was he going to be like, well, I'm going to snap them away and wipe their memories of everyone to snap away, or he just was going to kill everyone?
I thought he was just going to kill everyone and make new life.
Yeah, he was. He was just going to start
just remake the universe.
And that was also like, oh, and they I mean, I felt like there was some kind of implication there that they were going to worship him and like be all like
his children.
I will say that I never really bought his motivation. Like in these movies, he's just sort of a dick that like is like, I'm going to kill everyone. I mean, in the comics, he has a very weird comic-y motivation that like he's literally in love with death, like the personification of death. Yeah, he wants to please her by killing people, which is
understandable,
super fucked up and not well translated for a movie. But like, I kind of get that more than being like, if I kill half of everyone, things will be better. And I'm like, that's not gonna, like, you see, it's not better, and it's not because people
whales in the
remember
Hudson,
their loved ones, you know. Well, yeah,
but. Yeah, and then just kind of the counter example of Tony, who has everything to lose, but still snaps his fingers to do it, and then just kind of passes on. And it was kind of like you have the wannabe savior who wants to be like wants like the glory of being like, I suffered, I did what needed to be done, and I deserve. Yeah, he's like, I wanted you to be grateful, and some bullshit like that. While Tony doesn't get a word in edgewise, like we in the middle of the movie, he goes, "Get back what we have, hopefully, lose, keep what I gained." Definitely, I can't not do that. And he loses out for the sake of everyone. It's the difference between the one who wants to be the savior and the one who reluctantly becomes one.
Mm-hmm.
And just his death was just heartbreaking because he just has he's muttering incoherently, and he only goes when Pepper says, "Get some rest. We're going to be fine." And only after he hears that confirmation does he let go. Oh, God, I'm choking up just talking about it. God damn, this writing!
It's heartbreaking. It really is. I mean, even if you know this is maybe going to happen, it's, you know, it played out well. It was a fitting end. You know, it's just, it is quite sad. Up until the moment when he snapped his fingers there, I still wasn't sure what that snap was going to do. And as it plays out, as you know, all of Thanos' forces, you know, evaporate, and we might find out that there were other effects of that. But I thought maybe it was going to flash of light and, you know, the world's reset or something, but without Thanos, or you know, who knows. So, but he still did what he said he was going to do. I mean, initially he said, I'm not just going to fix everything. Yeah, I'm going to bring him back. But like we've lived these past 5 years and they matter and they have consequences. But I'm going to get the people back we lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now that I think about it, I liked kind of like the 5-year jump. Because I'm a sucker for like, oh, what would happen after this? And where would they go? Where would they be without the Avengers?
Yeah.
And I like how just like Black Widow kind of just becomes the new Nick Fury of monitoring, like making sure everyone's up to snuff and everything. You have the two Guardians of the Galaxy, Rocket and Nebula, just out and about. You have Galactic Policewoman Carol Danvers on patrol, getting new haircuts, which I love, by the way. I prefer that haircut than just the long hair. I don't know why. It just seems much more much more like the comic books I read where she appeared. It just matched that appearance more, and I was like, oh, it's the one I remember.
Captain Marvel originally, when she took on the mantle, that was like kind of the look she had, the more familiar look.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had the mohawk and all that.
Oh, I will miss the mohawk mask. That was a good.
I also like. I think it's worth just going back for a sec to talk about like. I mean, okay, I will say I was kind of annoyed that Carol had such a small role in the movie.
But given like she had only had one movie previously, and I think it's like the come late to the party. I think they could have done her more justice if they had waited to show her off till after Infinity War. I felt like they kind of crammed her. Or way before. Well, yeah. I mean, given what we know now, they should have put her in before. But like when they finally came up with the idea of including Captain Marvel and Carol Danvers, like when I first heard like they were going to make a Captain Marvel movie, I was thinking, oh, they're going to come out with it like after all the Infinity War stuff, and there's like openings in the Avengers, and we need people to fill like these gaps of like leadership and stuff like that. And I was thinking that's when they include her to like be a part of like the new and improved Avengers. And that's
the original plan was a bit different. I believe she was supposed to arrive at Avengers Tower like at the end of Age of Ultron. That was like going to be the post-credit scene initially, I think.
Okay, that would have been
and then they changed their timeline as to when they were going to have the movie and where her character was going to originate and all that.
Yeah, now see, if they had done it then, I think she would have had a more fitting role to play in Infinity War and stuff like that, because I feel like they did a good job of giving her the allotted screen time she deserved with having just one movie previous, while everyone else has all this history before her, and like play off her powerful role as like, here comes the cavalry, and she fucking just takes down Thanos' ship immediately.
Yeah, I think that's more of why she was kept back, is because as soon as she shows up, she's so powerful, she just wrecks shit. So they were like, well, we have to kind of keep her out of the movie for a bit because of not because of she's not as well known or anything, but because we need to save that energy. We need to keep the tension. I think that was probably why they did it.
She also doesn't have as much like narrative connection with all these other characters. Like I wasn't thinking, oh, what's Captain Marvel reacting to this? Who's she talking to? I was thinking more like, oh my God. How's Black Widow holding all this together? How's Clint taking the loss of his family? And like these heroes that I have seen for years previous and seen them develop, while meanwhile, like she showed up on my radar at the end of Infinity War and just recently a few months back. So I feel like it's also kind of just giving her the time she's deserved narratively so far, and then after Infinity War they can start using her more and more to her full advantage.
I have an interesting question about Carol in this movie, specifically Michal. What did you feel about the charge of the Lady Avengers, or I don't know, whatever you want to call that, where they got all the women together very obviously? Like, did you feel like that was overwrought? Or I liked it. I mean, like, they all just sort of like, converged in one space somehow.
That was kind of like me being like, manipulate me away, Marvel. I will scream and cry and applaud and I
agree, because a lot of this movie for me has just been fan service done right, where I'm just accepting it and I'm just happy to see it, because the Lady Avengers show up, I'm like, that makes it for an awesome. There's a lot of poster shots. Like, if you want something on a poster, they have a shot of that. You want all the lady heroes available and shown forefront. Poster. You want one of Captain America in the light facing this army of darkness. Poster. Like, everything is ready.
Now, I mean, I will say, and this is a problem with the general MCU, I don't think that they earned that shot. You know,
right.
Like, I don't think that they've treated most of those female characters in there with the prominence and respect and care that they deserve. I don't think that I like Natasha's arc in the movie itself, but I think it's a pretty poor summation of her journey through the entire MCU, in which she was sidelined so often and given very one-note things to do. Like, you can see Scarlett Johansson in the movie being like, I get to act now. Yes.
I get to do something. Right. I get to be a moving force.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was great in this, whereas
she was really good.
She's been criticized in past movies, sometimes unfairly, I think, sometimes fairly. But she was, I mean, throughout, she brought it.
Yeah.
Which makes me kind of sad that we just didn't get a Black Widow movie, because I would have been all for like a superhero James Bond kind of deal with
they
her
still
being
have
like
a Black Widow
spy.
movie planned.
Yeah, they're making.
I don't know. Yeah,
is it going to be like a new person with the mantle of Black Widow?
But it's
it's going to be like a
flashback.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in 1995. Yeah, something like that.
Well, which also kind of like that makes it. I mean, if you want to count Wonder Woman 1984, 4 movies, the 4 like superhero movies starring women, and none of them have taken place in the present day, which is deeply frustrating because it's really like.
Did you say Wonder Woman 1984? Oh, I was thinking the one I saw was in World War I.
Oh, yeah. But so if it's Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman 2, Captain Marvel, and the Black Widow movie, and I mean, the degree to which they will like try and avoid having these women affect the actual timeline is pretty impressive, I have to say. And I do think it's that intentional, because I don't think it's an accident that you make this many movies of I know they're different companies. I'm not an idiot, but like, I think that that's the trend that people are comfortable with. Like, okay, we'll have you, but you're just going to be back there. And like, you know, because they didn't do that with Captain America. You know, they started with his origins in 1945, and then he like instant future.
And it followed right up,
So as a feminist, there are things that I'm quite upset about, but it's not like, it's more, again, it's less about what this movie does and more about the place that the MCU has dumped it, you know. And
it's more about the people in charge of the overarching series rather than like the individual filmmakers themselves.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, you know, I mean, there are scenes where it was like glaring to me. It was like, oh my gosh, everyone here is white and male. Wow. Like, whoa. And, you know, that's kind of just how it is, because that, you know, it really, I think, exposes a very solid philosophy of a lack of diversity that they operated under for a very long
for decades time. In the comic book industry,
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to judge this movie against the rest of the MCU. I mean, this is very much built on the 11-year history of these movies.
I give
it a 5 out of 5, but that's a lot of that is because of all the groundwork they've laid. I mean, as a movie on its own, or only watching 2 or 3 of these movies, you're not as excited, you're not as invested. So, you know, you kind of have to judge these on a different level than you do most films, you know, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it. But I think it's definitely fair to think about criticism of past films and how it affects this film.
Yeah, because it's people like before have talked about like a Marvel movie every year, how droll. And like I get it when people have been like, oh, a Star Wars movie every year, because what Star Wars has kind of shown me is that they kind of have wanted to stick to just a general linear story. Yeah, they got the anthology ones, and those have been kind of like the exceptions to like the how interesting is this movie. But I feel like after Infinity War, they really have an opportunity to have Marvel movies come out once every year, or twice every year for that matter, with just introducing new heroes to add to the roster. And just now that like you have Tony Stark is gone, Captain America is gone, Black Widow is gone. We're probably not going to get much of Hawkeye.
Well, Captain America is not gone.
Oh, sorry. Well, we're still having Steve Rogers is gone.
Yeah.
The mantle of Captain America is given over to Sam,
which was beautifully done, I think.
I thought they did that pretty well, and I'm anxious to see like Captain America 3, 4 technically, because Civil War was
Captain America.
Was Captain America 3, but no one calls it that. And just to see, it's Sam taking point. He is the new Captain America, and just I want to see the Avengers reform with like a lot of new blood.
It's the scene where the Hulk does the snap, which by the way is hilarious to me that they were like, it has to be a snap of the fingers. Like, I'm pretty sure you could probably just think it and it would happen.
No. There need to be rules.
Yeah. Like, it was kind of a metaphor.
It's like Harry Potter. It needs to be the proper motions.
Yeah, exactly.
Swish and flick.
But I think the point was he had to like touch the fingers or something to connect the powers. Like, I think that's all it was.
I feel like that's a bullshit reason, but carry on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think like but the scene where that happens and they don't know if it worked, and then because how would they know? You know, there's not anyone there who would have, popped back into existence, and you have that tiny moment of Hawkeye. I think it's Hawkeye.
His phone,
His phone, and then you hear like the number of birds multiply outside, and I was like, that's just such a beautiful way of
life coming back into the universe.
Yeah. Of course, they're probably all screwed now because, like, it's half the people back plus all the other people who were born.
Plus, things have gone to shit.
Plus, apparently, a lot of aliens. So.
As soon as a bunch of people pop back into reality, at least like 75% of the still alive economists just kill themselves because they're like, how are we getting this back on track?
Our models
Everybody is communism now.
So So I think, like I said, that's
it could have been bombastic and really, it could have been like a big violin moment, and you see people popping back into existence all over the place and hugging each other and crying.
So cheesy.
Yeah, and they don't do that, and I think that was a really good call.
Well, yeah, because they follow it up immediately with just silence and then just a missile blast from Thanos' ship. Like,
yeah, there's no time to dwell on like the people that are back.
My mouth was just hanging open when I first saw that. I just could not speak because at first I was like, oh shit, everyone just died because it looks like an atomic blast goes off when that final missile goes.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and
okay.
No one died.
Now, at first I'm like, oh shit, they're all dead. But now the Avengers they brought back are going to face Thanos. And I was like, oh, that's going to be cool. But no, everyone is immune to missiles.
Especially Hawkeye, he was especially unscathed.
Yeah, he's right for a normal guy, he manages to make out pretty well.
When did he get that super soldier serum?
I don't know. Well, even with like the super soldier stuff, when Thor, and Captain Marvel are attacking Thanos and keeping him from snapping his fingers, and then Steve Rogers just jumps on his back and around his neck. I just whispered to my friend, now face the power of a slightly stronger human.
But I mean, I don't know. The battle itself, I can't think of any really missed notes in the timing, or there's just so much going on. I need to see it again. I was ready to see it again as soon as the movie ended, and that's almost never the case. I mean, I'll see some movies twice,
for a 3-hour film.
Yeah, I mean, which is crazy. I had adult responsibilities to attend to, so I had to go do that. But my son needed to be picked up from school. But otherwise, I would have just gone back and seen it again. And again, like I said, that's not something I do particularly often. But we can probably talk about this, for hours on end here. But I would say, just to kind of segue here, what do you guys feel about the future of the MCU after this? Do you feel that a lot of people, this is a jumping off point where they feel kind of their story is completed? Are you excited about what's coming next? I mean, I love the Guardians movie, so I was excited for 3, but I'm even more excited now. I really can't wait. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I was talking about this on my Marvel podcast a while back, which is that like it's weird not to know what's coming. Like we've always pretty much known, like, okay, then there's this movie, then there's this movie, then they're all gonna fight together, and then this movie, and now it's like we have Spider-Man, and they're making a Black Widow movie, and there's been rumors of the Eternals and somebody else, like but a lot of it seems to be on Disney Plus, and I'm very curious how. Like the Disney Plus shows don't have to coexist with the movies; that they can be the final word, So I almost wonder if like they're gonna take all of the MCU stuff and make it new, like take it in a different direction, and that stuff will be continued on, on the small screen. Because there's three or four Disney Plus series. It's Loki, Scarlet Witch, and Vision. Hawkeye and Winter Soldier and Falcon. Yeah, so 4 series that they're working on.
Yeah, and they're limited series. I don't know really how much content, like how many hours we're going to be getting out of that. But I will say, I mean, I know some people that work, at Marvel. They have a plan going forward with these movies. There's been a lot going on, obviously, with Fox and all that, and I mean, I get the feeling that maybe they've done this for over a decade of having, like, here's the vision board, everybody, visualize what's coming, and here's all the dates, and they're kind of like giving it a minute and, working on things as they need to, but we're going to get a little bit of a break, and, we don't have to have all these dates. I mean, the main thing is once they start reserving movie dates, there's several movie dates that have been reserved out for the next, 4 or 5 years of like untitled Marvel movie, untitled, like, for releases in the theater, but we have no idea what they're going to be. So,
yeah, I think Marvel moving forward, and this is kind of going to be my final say because I got to head to my shift, but I think it's a good idea to just wipe the slate clean. I think they've done good by their fans who stuck by them through Iron Man and all that, and they've given the old favorites a hearty farewell, and now it's time to kind of look to new grounds. Like, sure, you can have Intelligent Hulk show up every now and again when they need someone to look into the sciencey things of stuff. You have like as Guardians of the Galaxy wandering about, so they might be able to pop up every now and again. Other than that, it's a lot of new blood. Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Spider-Man, like the latecomers to the Avengers series, they can now kind of maybe look to that stuff. Now, I don't know if they're going to actually do much with Black Panther because it looks like he's mostly going to be reserving himself to now just kind of focusing on ruling his country now that most of these crises have been averted. But I think Captain Marvel and Spider-Man have a decent repertoire in front of them to maybe look into, and I'm eager to see new fans they bring in with these new films.
Yeah, they have a rich history to lean on. I mean, T'Challa has spent years as, a core member of the Avengers, and then he goes back, back and forth between running Wakanda, and we'll see what they do with that. But, I mean, you got to remember, Iron Man was really kind of a C-list character to most people when this started. Like comic book people knew him, like some people knew kind of the idea of Iron Man, but he was not your A-lister. The Spider-Man, the X-Men, the stuff they didn't have properties in their control of, that was their A-listers because they had already sold that off to save the company. So they've turned the Guardians, they've turned these people that the vast majority of people didn't know into beloved characters, and I think they can keep doing that. They can introduce new characters to these teams, introduce new teams, sort of as they see fit, as long as they have the right directors and creative teams. Like they can keep that fresh and keep it going. The only constants are probably like your Spider-Man, some sort of Avengers team.
Yeah, and as Michal pointed out earlier, great chance for new diversity. Great chance for actually like giving people
brand new characters even.
Yes, please.
Michal would very much like that.
I really would.
Well, and we've seen that it's effective. There's audiences you pull in. We saw Black Panther did better than Infinity War overall. So and they're both excellent movies. But I mean, there was clearly a hunger for that movie in a community that had been unserviced for a long time. So, I think they recognize that, and hopefully they'll adjust.
Better, newer movies, newer stories to tell. So that's
seriously
my
though,
hope.
if they want, Tessa Thompson and Evangeline Lilly and Gwyneth Paltrow probably wouldn't be interested, but like, just put together a female Avengers team and the movie will pay for itself. Like,
honestly,
yeah.
Like, first off, I love all three of them because, first off, Evangeline Lilly in Ant-Man and the Wasp is amazing, and one of the big reasons why I actually loved that movie. But just how everyone's like, let's just have Tessa Thompson and like Valkyrie and Captain Marvel just be gay for each other. I'm like, I'm fully on board behind that. Give Captain Marvel another reason to visit Earth now and again, to visit her Asgardian lover down there.
Captain Marvel to me gives off like powerful pansexual vibes. Like, I don't think she cares what body you're in. And anyway,
she doesn't give any fucks. And I think they said that they kind of imagined her as sort of like the Captain America type of persona of like, she's right. She knows she's right. Sometimes, to a fault. And it's, both good and bad, but like, she just believes what she believes. She believes it very strongly and kind of like doesn't take sass, doesn't really care to deal with nonsense. But they did do like an all-female Avengers team in the comics a few years ago. I think it was called A-Force. And it was like a bunch of female superheroes slammed together. I don't know if that's still running or not. I don't really read the comics much.
I haven't kept up with comics at all. It's great to vent with you guys and just get my love out for this movie before I just lose all impulse control and just go see it again. So
so this has been good. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
All right, night, guys.
Awesome. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you for joining us. You can find us, Vassals of Kingsgrave, on our WordPress page, the podcast, iTunes, YouTube, all the things. Come hang out. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Has it been like 2 years now, or
no,
last season wrap
up? Just about a year. It was. I mean, it had a pretty normal airing span last season, so it ended in mid-May.
But it didn't come back at the normal time this year.
No. So it's been off air for a solid year.
Yeah, and is this the last season, or they're doing another one?
They are actually doing another one. It already got renewed for another season.
Which I just have no idea what's happening, or, I mean, if they're going to keep trying to tie into this movie, or.
No, I've seen the premiere. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, no, please, absolutely. Yeah. We can just chat about this for a minute and see if Paul shows up or not.
Well, to an almost annoying extent, they're like, we changed the timeline, and that means like that apparently the whole Thanos thing didn't happen either, because that just didn't happen where they are.
Oh, so they've splintered completely.
Yeah.
Wait, that makes sense. I mean, that really does.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame them for making that decision, but it was always nice to have those little things, even if, the movie universe was never going to reciprocate.
Yeah. Is there... So are they like going to fully reform, S.H.I.E.L.D. as like kind of like a major organization now, or is it still just going to be like low budge?
So they're that's part of it. They're trying to like get an academy started, and they have new people who are like S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. And then the other half of it is Simmons and Daisy off looking for fits.
Yeah.
Which I think they must have. I mean, well, I
Cursed.
don't know. I might ask them this, but like, it's kind of the same situation with Gamora and Quill that Fitz and Simmons are in, because it's like you have the person that you are in love with,
right?
But like they are from an earlier like obviously Fitz is still in love with Simmons as opposed to Gamora, but like he doesn't know they're married. He doesn't know they're engaged. Like there's a lot of stuff that's happened that he has completely missed out on.
Yeah, there's a ton to unpack for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't know. They were always, adorable, so I just sort of wanted them to leave them alone, but they never did. So whatever.
Oh, no. Well, I personally think they get by far their best stuff when they're torturing Fitz and Simmons.
I mean, yeah, you could definitely argue that, but yeah, we'll have to talk more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., see where it goes. I mean, I'm kind of glad that they have just broken this stuff off. Like with the Netflix shows, they tried to be like we're all part of the same thing, and it never really were. And now it's just sort of like they're not even trying anymore. So it's cool because Disney's going to have their own thing that actually they're going to work hard to integrate. So then that'll be we'll see what they do with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was. I'm still a little sad because I was like so interested in the it's all connected and blah 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 and all that stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea, a great concept.
And then
if we could have seen more coming back from the movies.
Right, exactly. Awesome. That's why it's frustrating, because the movies, who really have all the power and the whole thing, are like totally, noped out on doing that. So it was. Yeah. Yeah,
it wouldn't have been hard to put, Clark Gregg back into a movie somewhere and very quickly explain that in the movie. Yes, he died, and some stuff. I got better. Like some stuff happened. You could hand wave it, whatever. There would have been a place for that, I felt, but. Movies don't move as fast as the TV show, I think was their argument.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy, obviously, because the movies are written years before they're even filmed, and then it's a much longer process. But I feel like they could have, like, the onus probably would have always been on the show to scoot around the movies and fit that stuff in. But I still think it's it was possible. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not with a network show. Like they definitely could have done it with the Netflix series.
Yeah. I mean, like, would it have been so hard for like Daredevil or something to show up at the end of this movie?
Yeah, right.
You would have been like, I think that looks kind of like Daredevil. You wouldn't even have to acknowledge it much.
Just insert them digitally, just like
yeah. It's like Ghost. I mean, we only saw him for like 5 seconds. That's fine. Just give a shout out. That's all.
I'm back. Sorry.
What?
I'm back. I didn't know what we were doing.